Welcome to the Own It Powercast, the place to be when you get serious about making big changes and accelerating growth in your life and in your relationships. Finally create the life you've always wanted, living life on your own terms. Learn how to take your fear and turn it into powerful choices that will create sustained change. Now your host, Mary Baker.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Own It Powercast, the place to come to get what you need to move yourself forward. Hey, it's Mary Baker and welcome to episode 242, Trusting Your Inner Compass. Well, welcome back to this month where we're going to continue the conversation about what I think is one of the biggest ways we need to take ownership in our lives, and that is owning our feelings and our wisdom. Last week, we talked about the moment and how others may have made it very unsafe for you and why you may still freeze today. Well, now I want to talk to you about a big part of reowning yourself and staying grounded in that moment so you can become more confident and peaceful and secure in your own skin, and that is tapping into your inner wisdom. You know, the part of you may have stuffed away so you could survive a long time ago, or so you could please others and be that lovely person you wanted to be. Well, you can still be that lovely and grounded and confident person. It's all about just tapping in to your feelings and into your intuition. But first, I'm excited to let you know about my new mini course ebook that's going to be available in about 2 weeks. And it's all about healthy boundaries and taking care of yourself. And I think it has a lot of great information to get you started, including a written ebook and mini podcasts that I create around it. So whatever kind of learner you are or whatever you have time for, both options are there for you. And there are worksheets and some thought provokers because, you know, that's how we roll here. We go within and we do the work to become empowered. So if you don't want to miss that free ebook, make sure you message me on social to get yours. Okay, so let's get into today's topic, trusting your inner compass. Well, I want to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart, and that is tapping into our real feelings and understanding the messages that they hold, along with any inner guidance that we may have stopped paying attention to a while ago. You know, sometimes we find ourselves in situations where our anxiety levels skyrocket and we're left wondering what's going on. Well, here's the thing. Our anxiety isn't always our enemy. Sometimes it's our internal compass trying to tell us something. It's like a signal from our higher self saying, hey, pay attention. Something here doesn't align with your truth, even if you can't see it on the surface. And you know, it's quite common to experience these moments when our anxiety levels just go through the roof, seemingly out of nowhere. Then we're left feeling jittery, unsettled, and often wondering, what is going on with me? And I think it's during these times that we can tend to view anxiety as our enemy, something to be avoided or suppressed at all costs. But what if I told you that sometimes anxiety can actually be one of your greatest allies? That's right, anxiety, far from being a foe at times, can be seen as our internal compass, our built-in radar system that's just trying to alert us to potential dangers or situations that are out of alignment with our true selves, giving us guidance that we can't even see yet. So that is one of the feelings I want to focus mostly on today is anxiety and fear and foreboding, things like that. So imagine it like this, your higher self, that deeper part of you, that knows your deepest desires and values, is trying to send you a message. If you're spiritual, maybe it's coming from a higher being or a power greater than you, outside of you, or both. Whatever you believe is fine. But it's like a gentle tap on the shoulder saying, pay attention here because something here doesn't feel quite right. Now, this might manifest as like physical sensations, like we can get a racing heart, we can get butterflies in our stomach. It might show up as racing thoughts, spinning in your head, ruminating, or just like this general sense of unease that you don't know why or where it's coming from. But regardless of how it presents itself, I think it's really important to recognize that your anxiety is trying to communicate with you. So instead of always viewing anxiety as an adversary to be defeated, what if we shifted our perspective and saw it sometimes as a guide? A beacon illuminating the path towards our authentic selves, like where we're supposed to be. When we learn to listen to our anxiety with compassion and curiosity, we can really open ourselves up to valuable insights and opportunities for growth. Before you roll your eyes, I want you to stop for a moment and think about some times in the past when you didn't listen to your gut and you had anxiety and you didn't know why, and there wasn't any good reason to be anxious on paper. And yet in hindsight, you wished you had listened to it. That's what I'm talking about here. Now, this isn't to say that we should indulge every anxious thought or feeling. Of course not. Rather, it's about acknowledging and honoring our anxiety as a valid part of our human experience. It's about creating space, which means stopping to create space, to explore what it might be trying to tell us, and then discerning whether it's guiding us towards something that aligns with our truth and is good for us, or, and this is a possibility, maybe it's rooted in irrational fears or past traumas. That's why you're going to hear me say all the time on this show, you've got to do your healing work. Because if not, it will distort your present and your future, right? We have to know which is which. And, side note, what is said around that is, if you have had trauma in the past, you might be more empathic. You might have a really strong intuition. Probably because you had to learn to tap into your senses a lot in the past to survive. Okay, so by developing a deeper understanding of our anxiety and learning again to trust our inner guidance, because little kids trust it, they have no problem doing that. I think we can really empower ourselves to navigate some big life challenges that are coming our way with a little greater clarity and resilience. So the next time you feel your anxiety creeping in, remember, it may not be your enemy. It might be your ally. And it might be nudging you towards something that's better for you and nudging you away from something that isn't good for you. And I want to stop here for a moment and say what so many clients talk about with me is, Mary, why did I not see that coming? Why didn't I see the manipulation? Why didn't I see the love bombing? Why didn't I see that workplace probably wasn't the best place for me to migrate to? Why did I think she was a good friend? Well, because your radar got messed up a long time ago, and that's what we're talking about in today's episode. Because you probably were ignoring these visceral signs and this anxiety that you were feeling and pushed it away and said, oh, I'm just excited. Oh, this is new. Oh, I haven't been out in a while. Oh, it's a new job. I mean, and I want to say it's not your fault. I mean, it's so easy to rationalize this stuff or assume it's something else and not a warning. And that's why we're going to talk today about how can you address this in the healthiest way so that you know, or you know better. Because you really don't know 100% until we're past it and we can look back. But we want to do the best we can to take care of ourselves. Okay, let's talk about the internal fight. You've heard me talk about it before, this internal fight that creates friction inside of yourself. And what I've learned is that when we're feeling anxious, it's often because there's a conflict between what we think we should do and what our intuition is telling us. I know that's been true for me. It's like we're fighting against ourselves, trying to suppress that inner knowing. I think secretly it's because maybe we don't want to hear what it has to say because we just put all our eggs in this basket, haven't we? We've just signed up for that relationship. We have just bought that home. We have just moved jobs. So there might be too much at stake to just walk away from it. But here's the kicker. Our higher self knows what's up, and it knows when something doesn't quite feel right. even if our rational mind tries to convince us otherwise. Like everyone else loves your new partner or thinks that job will be great for you. Or on paper, it looks like the best choice. And that's why, again, to circle back, it's so easy to just write it off or blow it off and say, oh, that's just jitters, right? This is just a new thing for me. I'm just anxious because this is new and I don't handle change well. And sometimes those things are true. But let's look at some examples here to get more clarity. So let's talk about career choices. Let's say you're faced with a career decision, and on paper, one option seems to offer more stability and financial security, while the other one aligns more closely with your passion and values. Now, your rational mind is going to lean towards the safer choice. But deep down, your intuition might be nudging you towards the path that brings you joy and fulfillment. Despite the rational arguments, you feel a sense of unease and resistance when you consider the safer option. That's important to remember. Unease and resistance, indicating a conflict between what you think you should do and what your intuition is telling you. And again, the belief is that our intuition kind of can see the future where we can't, and it knows, and it's guiding us. What about relationships? Let's say you're in a relationship that on the surface seems perfect. Your partner ticks all the boxes and everything appears to be going smoothly. Yet there's a nagging feeling in the back of your mind, a sense that something isn't quite right. Now, your rational mind might dismiss these feelings as irrational or unfounded, but your intuition is trying to alert you, probably to subtle signs of imbalance or incompatibility that you may have overlooked, or maybe that person isn't being quite genuine. They're putting on a hell of a show. They are walking that talk like they mean it. Despite the rationalization, though, you can't shake the feeling like there's more to the story. And I can tell you, as a counselor and a coach, there usually is. And it's highlighting the conflict between logic and intuition. So seeing what you want to see in the relationship or in the person or in the situation rather than what might play out to be true. What about life transitions? Like you're considering a major life change, like maybe relocating to a new city or pursuing a creative passion. Now, logically, it may seem impractical or risky, and you might face external pressure to stick with the status quo, like don't quit your day job. However, your intuition is really urging you to step outside of your comfort zone and follow your heart's desires. Despite the rational arguments against it, you feel a sense of excitement and, I would dare say, alignment with the path that your intuition is guiding you towards. In each of these examples, there is a tension between what our rational mind perceives as the right quote-unquote choice and what our intuition is signaling as the path that resonates with our true selves, but it might seem too risky or too out of the box or crazy. Learning to recognize and trust these intuitive nudges, though, can really help lead us towards greater authenticity and fulfillment. And let me tell you, when we finally tune in and listen to those gentle nudges from within, I think it's like unlocking a whole new level of clarity and alignment. Those moments when we follow through on what feels right, despite the fear or uncertainty, they're pretty darn cool if you ask me. So how do we tap into what we're feeling? How do we decipher the real messages that our emotions are trying to convey to us? Well, first, we have to slow down. We have to slow down, we have to breathe, and we have to check in. We got to check in with ourselves, we got to check in with the truth, and we got to check in with others. So let's talk about that. First, we have to put the boundary around creating space for introspection and self-reflection without judgment or expectation, like just sitting with what is. And there's a whole continuum of ease and discomfort for people, and you could be anywhere on this line, and that's okay. Know that the more that you do it, the easier it becomes to sit with yourself and to sit still, But I do want to honor if you have trauma, and if you already have tons of anxiety, it might be really hard for you. So you might take little moments at a time, and that's okay. You might feel better with a guided meditation, like I tell people on the show all the time, or when you're going for a walk or a drive or folding laundry or something. You might have to be doing something while you're getting quiet. And if it's something that you don't have to think about, that's totally fine. You might need that to feel safe, and that's cool. First, you want to pause and breathe. When you notice yourself feeling that anxiety or feeling uncertain, try to take a moment and pause whatever you're doing. Go find a quiet place if you can, and close your eyes if it helps, and take a couple deep breaths. This simple act can help calm your nervous system down and get you in touch with what's really going on. You're not in fight or flight, or you're getting out of fight or flight, the busy stuff, and it helps you to be calm and not fear-based or compulsive. Then you want to check in with yourself. And first you want to ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Like, try to identify some of the emotions swirling around you if you can. Identify what you can. If not, boil it down and say, I just don't feel well. Something doesn't feel right. And that's okay. Don't get wrapped in having perfect answers, please. I know that that can happen to you. It's not necessary. What matters is that you're getting honest. Are you feeling scared? Are you feeling frustrated? Are you feeling overwhelmed? Or something else entirely? So try to just name the emotions without any judgment, please, and just notice, like, that's interesting. I'm feeling really anxious right now. Or I have this really bad feeling, but I don't know why. And then I want you, if you can, to start thinking about, okay, why does that make sense? Okay. I mean, like, for example, you can say, someone just called me and asked me to do something this weekend. And I was caught off guard and I said yes, because it sounds like it could be fun. But then I got off the phone and I'm not feeling well, right? As an example. All right, then try to do a body scan. So try to tune into your body and notice any physical sensations that are accompanying your emotions. Are there knots in your stomach? Is there tension in your body? Where do you usually carry your tension? Is it in your shoulders? Are they bunched up? Is there a tightness in your chest? Is there shallow breathing? Are you getting clammy? Our bodies can often provide valuable clues about our emotional state, but we've probably learned not to listen to it. But try to get back in touch in whatever ways feel comfortable for you. Another thing you can do is journal. Grab a notebook and pen or whatever you can grab and jot down your thoughts and feelings. Just get them out on paper. Don't worry about whether they make sense or not. Don't censor yourself. Allow them just to flow onto the page. Because what can happen, and why journaling can be a really powerful tool, is you might be a little disconnected from what's going on the inside. Not your fault. But you might be amazed at what comes out on paper. And you're like, God, where the hell did that come from? That's okay. Because know that over time, you won't have to be surprised about what you journal or about what comes out of your mouth. You will have more integration. But for now, just try to journal it. What you're doing in that moment is you're just trying to honor your truth. That's it. Then I want you to reflect on your triggers. Consider what may have triggered your current emotional state. Is there like a specific event, situation, or interaction that might be contributing to what you're feeling? Like, does that make sense? Can you correlate anything? By understanding your triggers, you can gain some insight into the possible underlying causes of your emotions. Like the example I gave earlier, that person called me and they caught me off guard, and I didn't really have time to think about what I wanted to do this weekend. I went ahead and answered. I said, yeah, sure, that sounds great, I'll do it. And it's not about blame. It's just about understanding, that might be why I'm triggered. I was caught off guard. I didn't get a chance to sit with myself and think about what I really wanted to do. I may have given her my answer way too quickly. Next, it's really good to try to practice some mindfulness in whatever ways feel comfortable for you. Anything that you do adds up and is helpful. Maybe it's meditation or yoga. Maybe just simply trying to be present. Maybe taking a walk. Maybe deep breathing. These practices help cultivate awareness of your thoughts and feelings without getting swept away by them. Without getting swept away. That's what's important. This is not about getting up in your head and spinning. It is not about spinning out with your emotions, or both. And the answers won't come if we're caught up and we're too busy and we're running in our head or we're running physically in our lives and we're focused on things and we're task-oriented or we're focusing on what other people think and want and need. So we have to go within and try to be mindful. And you can practice mindfulness in a million different ways all day long. Just keep bringing yourself back to the present and say, what's going on with me right now? Why does that make sense? Sometimes it helps to just throw questions out to the universe and throw them out there just to see what comes back. Like, I wonder why I'm feeling this way. Or I wonder what's going on with me. If nothing else, your subconscious mind is hearing you ask that question. It's like, okay, are you ready for the answer? Sounds like you're ready for the real answers. It takes courage to ask these questions. But it's going to help you grow, and if nothing else, it'll keep you more connected to self. Now, we also can't just rely on our own wisdom and our own willingness and our own, I guess, for lack of a better way to say it, readiness to hear and see the truth. I say that with love. So we need to seek support. This is really important. And something that a lot of people don't do. They can tend to isolate or tell their friends what they want them to hear, as opposed to giving them the whole skinny. So reach out to a trusted friend, family member, or maybe even a professional for support. Especially the friend who won't tell you what you want to hear, but loves you enough to point out the WTF about the situation. Or at least affirm why you might be conflicted on the inside. You need to talk about your feelings with someone you can trust. Someone who can give you validation, perspective, and comfort. We don't have perspective when we're in it. We can only see what we can see. And even though we might be afraid that someone may burst our bubble, we need to reach out. And that in and of itself is a telltale sign often that there are some things that don't feel right, but we don't want them to be true. We want that person to be lovely. We want that job to be perfect. And finally, start practicing trusting your intuition. Try to honor the emotions that come up, even if they don't make logical sense, because a lot of times they don't. Again, you don't get the detailed memo. You only see the details when you walk through it and look back. But your intuition is a powerful guide, and it's always going to lead you towards what is best for your well-being. And just practice with small things. Listen to the gentle nudges to turn down a certain street, pick up the phone and text someone you haven't talked to in a while, clean something up, and that's where you find that piece of paper you've been looking for. Notice, for the most part, the benefits of listening to your intuition. Start with benign things like I just said, and see how it feels. See how much more peaceful you feel. Gather the evidence. You hear me talk here on the show all the time about how evidence doesn't lie. And when we're afraid and when we're afraid to trust, that's one really great way to practice. The other thing it does is allows you on many different levels that we don't have time to get into today to honor yourself. God, just listening to yourself can be such a gift that you give to you, maybe after a very long time. And here's the thing, this isn't always easy, but it's worth it. I mean, sometimes our feelings can be messy and confusing, but it's okay. This is all a part of the journey. You have to approach it with lots of compassion and curiosity and kindness. And allow yourself to be vulnerable and open to whatever comes up. And that's the other reason why you got to grab support, because this might feel a little scary doing it alone. Think about ways you can be more mindful this week and just practice tuning in and tapping into what you might be feeling and what's going on and why that might make sense. And again, just by you asking yourself that question, your life is going to be very different coming up. Because I sit with people all the time who bring their pain into the sessions because they didn't listen to themselves. I hope this episode resonated with you and offered some insight into the power of tapping into your feelings. If you already knew all this, you just needed a loving reminder, I hope that helped as well. And it's not an all or nothing thing. Some days are better than others when you can tune in and tap in, and whenever you can, it's good. So today we talked about anxiety and how it's not always a bad thing. Sometimes it's like our inner GPS trying to tell us something important. Sometimes when we feel anxious, it can mean there's a conflict between what we think we should do and what our gut feeling is telling us. I believe our higher self knows what's up, even when our rational mind is trying to convince us otherwise. So instead of seeing anxiety as a problem, we can view it as a guide and maybe a gift, nudging us towards what is best for us. Thank you so much for being here today. Don't forget to message me for the free download on boundaries and tap into the course that I have on all of this stuff and much more. There's 12 modules. It's immersive. It's instructional. It's supportive. There's a fabulous group coaching component. Then there's one-on-one time with me if you want it as well. The link for that, the Find Your Voice course, is right in the show notes. All right, so take good care of you this week. Pay it forward. Keep focusing on you. And I'll see you next time.
We hope you took away some useful insights and tools you can begin using right away. If you did, please leave a positive review and share on your social media. Because could you imagine if everyone in your life really got it together? Remember, own it now, so you can really own it later.